Hello, Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the weekly series where I get to speak with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place, and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Okie dokie then, so who do we have as the guest on this week's episode? Well, why don't we all find out? Sit yourselves down, make yourselves comfortable, and let's take a look at some of his collection in a musical montage. Okay, then, so we have another very collection there. You've got some Turtles, you've got some Motu, you've got some love for the Ghostbusters, and of course, you've got Star Wars. And it is an absolute pleasure to welcome to the channel for the first time, Rob from Rob's Retro Instagram page. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Stu. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. It means a lot. If it wasn't for people like you, I wouldn't have a series. So I really appreciate you taking the time out. So you been up to much?
No, not much. Not much. Just
Not much,
enjoying a few days off, spending
cool.
some time with the family. Yeah.
Awesome
Trying
stuff.
to beat this Texas summer heat.
Oh, is it warm out there at the moment?
Oh, yeah. It's like triple digits every day.
Yeah, we'll swap you some of that for some rain. We've had rain all day. It's been a horrendous day today. Like rain, weather-wise, it's not great in the UK at the moment. Anyhow, I've got 10 questions for you. All about you and your collection. One time, roughly about an hour. If we go over, not too worried about that. So when you're ready, we'll crack on. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Okay. So, what toy lines were you into as a kid, and what memories do you have of those toy lines?
All right. Well, the first toy line I can remember, so I was born in 80. So the first one I can remember was probably Motu. Um,
Okay.
I remember having a lot. See, that's a pretty common theme, but yeah, I had a lot of Motu. I can definitely remember Star Wars. My Star Wars collection and recollection as a kid would be more Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Um, definitely, but Motu was big early on. Um, I would say I was probably 3 or 4 when I got
Oh
Gray
wow.
Skull for Christmas. I can definitely remember. I don't remember having vintage or the original He-Man and Skeletor, but I definitely remember having Battle Armor. Battle
Okay.
Armor and Skeletor and He-Man, they resonate really hard with me. Like I can really remember that battle action feature and hitting that and that little tumbler rolling in the chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
weird because it's funny you say you were about 3 or 4. I don't recall having any of those. I don't really recall having too many toys at that age. It was predominantly all cars and stuff like that, like dinky toy
mhm.
cars and stuff like that. Um, I think I must have been about probably 5, 6 when I've got my first Star Wars. But
Yeah.
that was probably again like in the well, I would have been 6 in 1980, so that would have probably been around about the same time. But
Yeah.
that's quite a young age to get a Castle Grayskull. Did you sort of you understood what it was and you sort of
I must have. I don't recollect when the cartoon came out, but I
yeah
always remember having a fond memory of the action features and then seeing the cartoon and
mm,
being able to recollect and like translate like, hey, look, I have that. I
yeah
see that on my TV and now I can either bring it out and play with it while I'm watching the cartoon,
yeah
or I can go after the cartoon's over and have my own adventures and play with my figures. But I definitely remember having those Battle Armor, Panther, Battle Cat.
yeah
I can still remember going to Sears. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a
yeah
yeah, Sears is where I would get all my Motu. I can still remember the packaging. I definitely remember the later Motu, like the Horde Troopers.
okay
I can remember the day. I can still remember getting Mantana, Grizzlor, um, King Hiss was one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, so I
okay
definitely now, those were a little bit later in the line. I don't remember so
yeah
much the first waves like Stratos and Ram Man, although I do remember having Ram Man. I definitely remember those kind of those older waves, probably moving more into like 84, 85. I
okay.
can remember those.
That was quite vibrant artwork on the box, wasn't it? I mean, it was
Oh
one of
yeah,
those things where you, as a kid, I remember, going into stores back in the 80s and stuff like that, and just seeing like aisles and aisles of boxes and stuff like that. And I think it was the artwork that drew you to those figures and those vehicles and stuff like that. And especially Motu. I still say I feel that Motu has definitely got probably the best artwork. It's
yeah.
just so colorful. And I mean, even now with the Origins figures and what have you, the artwork on those boxes is just incredible. Was
Yeah.
that a
I
big
mean,
pull for you, or was it just the cartoons and the figures themselves, or was
yeah,
it
the
that
cartoons
worried
and the
about the boxes?
figures as a kid were the pull to me. Now, man, sometimes I wish I still had my old figures, of course, but sometimes I wish I had the card art
Yeah,
and what the boxes they came in. I have almost a stronger pull towards those than the action figures. I don't know what it is about the display ability of the boxes and the card art. It just, especially the cross sells on the back with the artwork. Um, I mean, nowadays I even cut out. I don't know if you see Shabby does that, but I've been doing that with my Motu Origins, for years now, cutting that top artwork off and keeping it and collecting
yeah,
that also.
yeah. No, I mean, with my Origins figures and the Revelations figures, I've thrown the boxes away. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel a bit bad because I look at the artwork and think that is so good. I mean, even with some of the McFarlane stuff that you got the artwork on the back, and yeah, that all goes in the bin if I take them out the packet. So
Right.
so after Motu, what was it? What was it after Motu?
After Motu, I remember as a kid having a wide variety of figures, especially at an early age. I had Sectars, I had Centurions, Visionaries.
Hmm.
I had a few Transformers. I don't remember having a large collection of Transformers, the most like it's weird because one of the ones I can remember the most having as a kid was a spaceship, a rocket ship, and I've looked it up recently. It's actually a GoBot.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, and it's just
Wow.
a simple black and white spaceship, and it's a very simple transform. As Transformers, I can remember having a lot of the mini ones like Gears and Sea Spray. I think was one of them, and
Yeah.
ones like that. Cliff Jumper. I can remember a lot of the smaller Transformers, but not a lot of the larger ones.
Was you into the animated series as a kid, the Transformers as well?
Yeah, I can remember watching it. Like my
Yeah.
son is really big. My son's 6, and he's really big into Transformers. And we'll watch the old cartoons, and some of those memories will come back to me. Like, oh, I've seen this episode. Like I know,
Yeah.
I recognize this, but I don't remember sitting down and watching Transformers like I did with Motu and GI Joe.
Okay.
So by the time 86, 87, probably by the time I was 7 or 8, it was full blown GI Joe. GI Joe
Oh,
just
yeah.
took off for me. That was I have as an adult right now. I have not delved into that line, but
Really?
that is no, not so. It's a funny story. Back when GI Joe came out in I think 07 with the 25th anniversary,
Yep.
single man, no kids. I delved into that line hard. I had every figure that came out. I can remember doing toy hunts at Walmarts and driving to different Walmarts, and I had bins and bins full of those. And that was 07 to maybe 08, 09. Well, 2010, I got married. So all that went on eBay and I
Oh,
sold it all.
no.
Yeah, to help
Oh,
with the
wow.
wedding, help with the ring. And I was even dabbing into vintage too at that time. Because I remember having a pretty extensive set or collection in 07, 08
Yeah.
and getting them. And I was going to toy shows and stuff and find them. I don't think they were very expensive back then. I think you were picking up loose figures complete $10, $15. I don't think it was like, and this was what, 15 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, and they all are gone. So I know the day, and it's coming soon. I have the pull so hard to start vintage GI Joe again. I mean, I see what you have. I've seen that killer whale back there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, that was, I never had that as a kid. And that was just I did that out of boredom because obviously 2020, we couldn't do much. So that took me a good few months to sort that out. But you're talking about the 25th anniversary G.I. Joes. I didn't even realize that was a line. I didn't realize that was a thing. I missed that totally.
I wouldn't have ever found it or known about it because I wasn't online. I don't think YouTube was really that big, if it was even a thing then. Sure wasn't following anybody and talking to anybody like I am now. So I have a nephew who now just graduated high school. Well, when he was younger, Clone Wars was big. So he was huge into Star Wars and the Clone Wars animated series. And I can remember going to Walmart and buying him Star Wars toys because he was really big into it. And I remember seeing that and just seeing that artwork on that card. And I don't even know how the figures were. I never even opened any of them. I kept them all carded. And just seeing that artwork, it was an immediate pull. It was just, I mean, that nostalgia grab. Like, there they are.
Absolutely.
Wow, what is this?
Even though they weren't O-rings.
No, yeah. Like I said, I didn't open them. So I was just, and then I was also supplementing those with vintage ones that I was picking up. So I was getting that O-ring satisfaction, if you want to say, from the ones that I was picking up.
Oh, I mean, I see when they said when Hasbro said that they're going to be releasing the retro line of G.I. Joes, I thought it was going to be the O-ring figures, but they didn't. They released a few of the 25th anniversary figures, and I have got them. I've taken them off the card, but for me, you can't beat the original O-ring G.I. Joes. I mean, I just thought that was such a great toy line as a kid. I mean, did you have much of that as a kid? The original G.I. Joe stuff?
Yeah. I have fond memories of G.I. Joe. That was my major toy line. Every birthday, every Christmas. I can remember on Easter, we would have our Easter baskets, and every year I would have one G.I. Joe in my Easter basket.
Oh, cool.
I have very fond memories of G.I. Joe.
Were you into the was it? Oh, what do you call the Eco Warriors? The like with that period where they started going a bit
Yeah.
sci-fi and not real
So that was
life.
like, I think,
Figures.
91, maybe
Oh, really?
92,
That late?
somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere around that year. And I was starting to phase out of toys. That's when I was starting to move on. But it was G.I. Joe from me, probably 87, 88, all the way till, I want to say 91, 92. The last G.I. Joes I can remember getting were the ones with the backpacks where you press the buttons and they had the voice, or they had,
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah, I'd have run out of it by then, I think.
they would say different. Yeah, those are the last ones I can remember getting.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
was it with G.I. Joe then? Was it the actual figures themselves that got you into it? Or was it the animated series?
Yeah, it was probably both. It was the combination of the animated series hitting, but I can remember. So the first GI Joes I remember getting was, it's a toss up. It's either Frostbite with the
Okay.
Snowcat,
Yeah, yeah.
or it's Zartan with the Swamp Skier. I can't remember
Okay.
which one I got both, and they might have been together, but I definitely remember getting both of those.
Hmm.
And I'm
I mean,
pretty sure that's what
I was
set
going to
me
say it's
on
weird because
G.I.
in the
Joe.
UK, my friend had a lot of the GI Joe stuff, but we didn't even realize that they did things like the Defiant or the Flag. I had
Yeah,
no idea over in the UK. I mean, the guy that I spoke to last week, he went over to the States when he was a kid, so he got to see it all, but just had no idea because
yeah,
obviously back then there was no internet and stuff like that, so we
right, yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
we didn't have a clue. And it's only since I've been doing YouTube and like looking at these other guys' videos and stuff like that and seeing that what they've done with their Flag and the Defiant and the it's just incredible. Some of the stuff. I mean, yeah, loved it as a kid. Absolutely awesome. What do you think of the classified GI
I have
Joes
not,
modern day?
I have not picked any up.
Yeah.
They pull, and they pull hard. When I see them, I was at Target the other day and I saw, who did I see? I saw Copperhead and Dusty and
Mm,
Scrap Iron. That new wave that's coming out,
yeah.
and they pull hard. I wanted to
Yeah.
get them. I have a stronger pull to the vintage. I want to start collecting the vintage again, and
Okay.
I feel I can put my money better towards that than buying the
Yeah.
new stuff. And space comes down to an issue too.
Yeah, I think that's every collector's issue,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
Space. No, I mean to be when the classified line came out, for me it was a big disappointment. It was like, what are these? These aren't the figures that I
right.
remember as a kid. That
Yeah,
looks nothing like kind of like Roadblock or who has Gung Ho. I mean, I was
Duke.
like,
Yeah,
oh no, not great. But to credit where credit's due, Hasbro have sort of like turned the corner with GI Joe, and they're producing some
yeah.
great stuff. I mean, you got the HasLab his tank with the light up cockpit and the lights and stuff like that, and then you got the
Yeah.
Dragonfly as well that they've done. I think they've got a Vamp coming out, haven't they? Then they've got a Trouble Bubble, and some of the
Mhm.
figures now they just do look absolutely fantastic and exactly how they were, you know, style wise as a kid. It's just a modern day version of them.
Yeah. Which, why they did not do that from the get go, I have no idea.
Well, I have no idea.
It's just like if they would come out with a serious O-ring line, and
Yeah,
I mean, look at the way that Mattel and Playmates is marketing TMNT and He-Man. I
yeah.
mean, you got to look at their numbers and see what they're pushing and moving, um, to know that a retro line classic O-ring GI Joe would just, I can't believe that it wouldn't just move. I mean, people
Well,
would
they
just,
started doing them again, didn't they? They did start doing those figures again because you had the Sky Striker HasLab, which was
yeah,
O-ring figures, and then they started doing the 2-pack. So you had Duke and Cobra Commander together; they were O-ring as well as Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, and then the Cobra Trooper and Cobra Officer. So I thought, okay, great, we're going to be getting more O-ring figures, and they just seem to stop. I mean, you can get was it the Baroness? You get with like a crossover with Megatron, and I
yeah,
think it's Stalker. You get the crossover with
yeah,
Bumblebee. I
yeah.
don't buy that. I'm not into that.
No,
I just give us straight up O-ring GI Joe figures.
yeah. And they came out with a couple of the two packs, the Cobra Officer and the Cobra
That's it.
Guard, and then Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. But
That's it. Yeah, yeah. But
I
why did
just,
they stop? I don't get why they stopped.
yeah, I have no idea. I'm hoping that they're revamping it, going to put it together, and they see that there's a market for these. That's what I love about the retro. And you know, some people put it down and don't like it. Maybe it diminishes the value of the original vintage. But I look at it like I can go buy my 6-year-old, 7-year-old son a $10 Ninja Turtle, which looks exactly like the old ones. And if he tears it up, breaks a leg, pops an arm off, or whatever, I didn't spend $20 for the vintage or $50 for a Snake Eyes. You know, I can give him one of those retros, and he can enjoy all the classic fun that I have. We can pop on the old GI Joe cartoons, the old He-Man, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, and he can have all that nostalgia, all that fun like I had, and still enjoy the toys.
Oh, that absolutely awesome, absolutely awesome. But but the thing is, with that, they do the retro line with Star Wars, don't they? They do the retro figures from Star Wars. So if they've done that with the Star Wars, and it seems to be selling, I mean, people like it and they're buying it.
Yeah.
Why don't they do that with the GI Joe? Because then they've not got restraints. They're not got their hands tied with GI Joe, have they? Because they don't have to license it out because it will pay for the license because it's their property.
Yeah, I don't know. GI Joe, Mask. You know, they have other properties that they own that I can't see why they don't want to make money off of these. Sometimes Hasbro can be frustrating. This is the reason I moved from modern collecting almost to entirely vintage collecting, is because Hasbro makes it so frustrating.
Yeah, they do. They make it frustrating for everybody. Absolutely. You touched on it just briefly about you know, when you started to phase yourself out of toys. So when did you stop playing with your toys and become a collector? So what was it that got you back into collecting again after you finished?
Yeah, so I phased out, like I said, I'm going to say probably 92, 93. I was probably 12, 13 years old, which is actually pretty late. I think I was probably still playing with toys and getting a few here and there, nothing like I was when I was 10 and 11, basically because I had a brother who was 3 years younger than me. So I think that kind of kept me into toys and playing with him. We grew up in a very small town of about 200 people. So you didn't always have friends around and people to play with. So your younger brother was pretty much the childhood or neighborhood friend you played with. But once me and all my friends moved into sports, and what got me out of toys was sports cards. I got heavily into basketball cards, football cards, baseball cards, and I still have a lot of my original cards that I had then. Wow. Yeah, unfortunately, they were very mass produced in the late 80s, early 90s, so they're not worth a whole lot of money, but they're nice to have. It's kind of like I can go and look at them and show my kids and stuff like that. But that's definitely what got me out of toys.
Yeah. So what was it? Oh, sorry, go on, please. Sorry.
And unfortunately, what I can remember is everybody always want, you know, you hear the stories, oh, my mom threw away my toys or whatever. I can still remember the day we had a garage sale, and I can still remember bagging up all my He-Man, GI Joes, all of them, Thundercats, Sectars, Centurions, Visionary. And I made grab bags. I think they were I can't remember. It was either $5 or $10 bags. And these were back when no plastic bags. So everything you got at the grocery store was paper bags, and just making paper bags full. I'm talking probably 20 figures in each bag for $5.
No way.
Just grab bags, just staple them shut. And what you got is what you got. And I can remember this guy coming to the garage sale, and I want to say he dropped like $100 and just wiped it out and took everything. And this was 1992 probably. But man, I had that $100 in basketball cards, football cards. That was what it was for me. And now I would trade all that to have those back. Like, it's crazy.
Oh man. It's kind of sad when you think back in it and you hear things like that. You just think, oh God. But then I suppose at the time you didn't know any better, did you? I mean, none of us do. I mean, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and what we did with our toys, I mean, we played with them. I grew up out in the country, so we had a plowed field beside us. So, you know, 90% of the time that was nothing but ground up dirt. and we would go out there and build tunnels and forts with our GI Joes, and we would play with them. I don't know how many we probably lost in the dirt, but if those things had paint, I would be surprised. Broken O-rings, broken crotches, broken thumbs. Even if I had them, they would probably be important to me, but they wouldn't be in very good condition at all.
But well, it's funny you should say that, because my dad was clearing out his loft and he was throwing out loads of boxes, and luckily before he went down the tip, he actually checked in one of the boxes and he found like a load of like Motu figures of mine as a child.
Yeah.
And he literally was just about to throw them away. Then he's like, sort of, oh, but better keep those. And he said, yeah, I found these, and they had their legs missing, and well, not missing, but they were snapped. The rubber bands had snapped on the legs and stuff like that. And I was absolutely made up, because I've always said that I wanted like toys for my childhood and stuff like that. And yeah, they would beat up, but I've given them a bit of a scrub. I've fixed the legs and stuff like that. So I've just got a couple of bits to get for them to be complete, but they're looking good on the display. So I'm happy with that. What would you say if you went back in time? What would a Rob from today say to a Rob of back then as a kid? What would you say to him? Would you say anything to him? Would you say anything to yourself?
Man,
like look after those toys, keep them, don't get rid of them, that sort of stuff. Or...
Yeah, it's tough because what we know now compared to then. Obviously, if we know now, or then what we know now, we would have kept them all on cards, boxed up. We would have kept them in perfect condition, and we would be selling them on the Hacks auction or whatever for $5,000, whatever they're going to. But it was so much part of the childhood and the memories of playing with those figures and just interacting with neighborhood friends and trade. I can remember us trading figures, trading GI Joes. I would take a Crimson Guard for the night and go take him to my GI Joes and play with them. And my other neighbor might take my bat and he would go play with take the bat if he didn't have one. So you would lose all those memories. And, as much as I would cherish those cards and boxes of toys unopened, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I think the majority of people would agree with you on that. I wouldn't. Can you imagine it though? I mean, you walk into the shop and you buy all these toys and stuff like that as a kid, and you don't play with them, and you just have them on your wall or something like that, or have them displayed. And it wouldn't have felt right, would it? Do you know what I mean? It's just. Yeah.
I've said this before. I don't think my parents would have bought me toys if I wouldn't have opened them. My dad, he worked a full-time job and then farmed part-time, and I don't see him spending his hard-earned money if he was to buy me a toy and I would just keep it on the card or put it away or something like that. I think that's the enjoyment, and to see your kid enjoy those toys and have fun and going on those adventures with themselves.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I mean, I can remember going back and thinking, well, we got a lot of inspiration from like the animated series, whether it be Motu or G.I. Joe. And then we had the comic books and stuff like that. We could spend a good hour or so just reading through comics and catching up with the stories and stuff like that. And then just getting your toys and taking them out in the garden and just playing with them. And, so we took aspects of the comics and the G.I. Joe series and stuff like that. And then we, put together our own mismatch of like missions and stuff like that and adventures. And sometimes we could have one game. It would last all week if it was in the summer holidays and stuff like that. It was just absolutely a fantastic time. It really was. So what was it then that you remember about your first step back into collecting? What figure was it that you thought, was it those what's it ones that you said about?
Yeah, so I kind of had like a split. So in 2007 I got back into with GI Joe, and
that's it.
That lasted about 3 years, and like I said, I moved them all, and that was before eBay. I don't even know if eBay was. I didn't have an account on eBay. I had to go to a buddy and be like, hey, what's this eBay? Can you dump all these? And I think I gave them away for almost nothing because I wanted the money then. Hey, I'm in love. I want to get a ring. We want to get married. Let's do this. I can dump this stuff, get some quick cash. So I'd probably let them go for nothing almost. I don't remember what it was, but
yeah.
So there was that. And I knew I had the collecting bug from sports cards. So I still collected up until about 2003, 2004. So I had a pretty large collection. And unfortunately, I sold a lot of those also with those G.I. Joes on eBay. So I always had that collecting bug. And then I had my first child in 2013. And The Force Awakens came out in 2015.
Okay,
and
yep.
Say what you will about the sequels, I'm not a fan of them. I like the first one. The second one's garbage. The third one was it was okay. It was just a cap on the
Yeah,
end.
I know. Yeah.
But the hype around those was so big.
Oh,
I was like,
absolutely.
I got to see what this is about. It was a female role. My first child was a daughter. So I was like, you know what? I can go and get these figures. We can interact. She can watch the movies. We can have this. I've always had this Star Wars love, especially for the films. So we can do this. We can watch the movies together. She'll be growing up. She can have some of the toys. And I went full blown into The Force Awakens buying figures. And I would say since 2015 to now, I've been a very avid collector.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite childhood toy line was? I know you said you had a lot of love for Motu because that was the first toy line you got into. So I'm guessing it's between Motu and G.I. Joe.
Yeah, it would have to be G.I. Joe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Even though, like I said, because once I pull that trigger and I buy my first vintage figure, which I can't tell you how many times I've been on eBay and it's been so close and I just haven't done it yet because there's I went full blown into Star Wars when I started moving from modern to vintage. And I really have my key pieces that I want to get to complete that because I know once I get that first O-ring figure in the mail and he comes in a box and shows up, that's it. All bets are going to be off. It's going to be it's just that's how it's going to be. That's how strong my love was for vintage G.I. Joe.
So what was it then for you for G.I. Joe that set it apart from everything else?
I think it was the backpacks, the guns, the Airborne coming with that mask on his face. Shipwreck coming with Polly, a Mutt coming with Junkyard, Law coming with Order, Croc Master coming with the Croc. Even as something as silly as Boa coming with his punching bag and his gloves. The accessories, the card art. To me, that card art is art. Like, I think that what they did, Rob Rudnack, I think is his name, what he did drawing those characters is amazing. And also growing up in a small country town, military life was pretty big. Me and my friends, we played Army a lot. So, and I think a lot of that stemmed from G.I. Joe. We had the BB guns and we would go out in the woods and we would play Army and dress up. I think probably my first 10 years for Halloween, I dressed up as G.I. Joe, which was just basically an army man, just all in camouflage. So, yeah, it was just that whole military, all the accessories, the vehicles were amazing. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And just Christmas Day to get all those Joes and of course, just rip them off and plastic card backs or boxes are going in the trash. Just give me those figures. The file cards? I did. And you know what? I still have. I don't know how I kept them from my. I guess they're from my vintages because they're from my childhood. Somehow I still have about, I want to say 8 to 10 file cards. I don't know how I kept them all these years, but that's basically the only thing I have left from my childhood.
Wow. Well, at least you got something. I know it's not a figure, but it's still, you can look back and think I had that as a kid. I don't know if you've heard of a guy on Instagram called Malar.
No.
Well, I've chatted to him on this series, and he does like toy photography, and he does like a lot of G.I. Joe stuff. And with the G.I. Joe vehicles, he's got a lot of inspiration from the actual box art of the vehicle. So he will set up that vehicle and do a diorama and take a photograph of it. So you've got the real life toy with all the explosions and stuff going on around it and the lighting and stuff like that to replicate the box that it came in. And check him out. He's absolutely incredible. Some of his photography, it's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I'll have to check him out.
Mailar. So yeah, he's a good guy. Where are we? What toy lines do you currently collect at the moment, and do you have a focus? So is there something that you collect more than something else, and you have a particular focus on that, or do you just collect all sorts of bits and bobs at the moment?
So I pretty much have a key focus, and it's really anything that resonates with me from childhood.
Okay.
Especially if I see it, and like I said, it hits me like, "Ooh, I remember that." But what I focus on it right now is Star Wars.
Okay.
So yeah, in 2015, it was all the what the 5 POA figures that came out.
Yeah.
And then I slowly moved into, once they started TVC, I was full blown into TVC. I mean, I was it was TVC and Black Series, really. I had
Yeah.
every Black Series in that red and black box from I think 00 all the way to the last one till they started with the new ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even the exclusive, like if it was a GameStop, Walgreens, whatever, I was toy hunting, running out, finding them and putting them together. And then TVC also. And I got to the point to where, and a lot of this is from Box Bounty and Only One Kenobi. Yeah,
they got a lot to answer.
Yeah, they
those,
pushed me hard. But yeah, I found them early on in YouTube, and I know they influenced you too.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I found myself getting 3 of one, 4 of one, and I would have extras because I was always like, I want one carded, I want one loose, and then I want one for one of my kids, whoever wants to get into it. If one of them gets into it and decides, hey, I like Star Wars, I want to get into that, I have one extra one for one of them. And then that love, it got to the point where I finally asked I'm like, what's my connection to TVC and Black Series? For one, I'm not really displaying them. I'm not really opening them, especially Black Series. I kept them all boxed. And I just kept getting this pull to vintage. And then once I got my first vintage figure, it was pretty much like, you know what, this is what I like. This is what I enjoy. This is what I remember. Why am I not getting more of these? And why am I buying more of this modern stuff that really just doesn't hit me like the vintage does?
Yeah.
So I moved off all my vintage TVC, moved off all my Black Series, and I really delved into the vintage line and really focused on that.
Wow. What was your first figure?
First figure, I want to say, was the Gamorrean Guard.
Okay.
Just because I remember having that one as a kid. I had a few Star Wars. Like I said, most of them were from Return of the Jedi. I can remember the removable arms 3PO. I had the last 17 Luke poncho, the Luke Leia poncho, Han trench coat. You know why I can remember those three? Yeah, I always took off their ponchos and their trench coat and put them on my GI Joes. Yeah, that's how I can remember. No, I had those. Yeah, so I think Gamorrean Guard, he resonates. I don't know why, but that's the figure that I really like. In the movie, I can remember that character a lot. So I think Gamorrean Guard was the first one I picked up, and then I slowly started realizing, hey, this Star Wars thing. This was probably in 2018. Yeah, that this vintage Star Wars thing is starting to really take off. Not that it hadn't already, but the prices were starting. I could see the prices were starting to jump on eBay.
Definitely.
And I was like, man, I got to start grabbing these and grabbing them now. And I wish I did, because a lot of these I got now, basic figures for $25, $30. Now you go on eBay and they're selling for $60, $70. So I'm glad I picked them up early and didn't wait on that line. So.
Well, I mean, I'm in the same boat, Rob. I was collecting all of the vintage Kenner figures, and I started then, because I did it film by film. So I did The Empire Strikes Back first, because that was the film that I loved the most.
Yeah.
And then it was all the Return of the Jedi figures, so I got them. And then it was all the Star Wars figures from A New Hope. And because when I started collecting Star Wars, I was at the age where I'd missed out on the Star Wars, like Han Solo, Luke, and Leia sort of thing. I had them from The Empire Strikes Back, so I was so chuffed to get them in the collection. And then I started getting the last 17, and that's when you think, well, that's back then it was like, oh, okay, you can tell the difference in the prices, between like a for example, a Gamorrean Guard and like one of the figures from the last 17, there was a massive jump in the price. So I was like, oh,
yeah,
crikey, okay.
yeah.
And then, so I've got a few of them. I think I still need 9 left. But then I started getting like the vehicles. I've got the mini rigs. I've got a lot of the vehicles. I need to get the play sets, some of the play sets. But then I, hit YouTube, met people like Bosk's Bounty and Only One Kenobi, and they're all into the vintage collection. And I was like, wow, what am I missing out on? So then I started going into those. I'm wishing that I'd have completed that original 96 first, because the figures that I need now are so expensive. And I just like, not for me. So I have a Stan Solo Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper. Would that be something that would interest you, going down that route? If you didn't want to pay that much money, you go to someone like Stan Solo and get a repro, or you strictly just, right, it's got to be vintage kind of figure?
Nope. I like it so much I have 2 of them.
Really?
Yeah. No, I love Stan Solo. No. Yeah, I have 3 kids. At the time, my wife was a stay-at-home mother taking care of my youngest. I can't afford to go pay that much money for a last 17 figure. No, I found Stan Solo and fell in love. You know what? He makes great figures.
Absolutely.
I have so many of his figures. He's completed my last 17 run pretty much. Now, I did go out and I purchased the Ewoks. I paid the money for the Paploo and the Warwick and the Lumat, which was stupid. It's high money to pay for a little Ewok this big.
I know.
But I did it. But no, and I've followed Stan Solo for a long time. I love what he produces. I love what he makes. I can't wait to get his new ones that are coming out soon. I've messaged the man. He's always gotten back to me.
Awesome.
I can't speak highly enough about Stan Solo and his products.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's also done figures that weren't done in the original line. Like I've got his recently, the figure I've got was the Princess Leia.
Yes.
Slave outfit. And I've also got the blue Snaggletooth, because with that, I've seen them at toy fairs local to me, and they're going for about 300 odd quid. And it's a lot of money, but then the paint is chipped off the boots and stuff like that. And if you're going to pay that much money, you want a decent figure. What do you think of the Star Wars retro collection line? I mean, are you happy with those? Are you hoping that they do more of those from the original trilogy, or?
So I pick them up.
Yep.
I would not display them, so I'm short on space. My collecting space right now is about 3 shelves I get in my closet. That's about it right now. So I would not display the retro line with my original Kenner figures.
Okay, right.
Although I do pick them up for my kids, and then I pick them up because I do have a large quantity of the play sets. So when I went all in. I've got vehicles, play sets, pretty good collection of the boxes. I try to get, I like the Kenner boxes. So I wouldn't mind putting the retro figures on my play sets. Now, I hope that's not blasphemy. And
no, everybody clicks differently and does things differently. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Like I have they came out with the Empire Strikes Back Luke Dagobah. Now I'm going to get the Stan Solo Luke Dagobah, and he'll be in my Dagobah playset for sure. I'll replace that. But the Bespin Luke, I have no problem putting that with a retro Yoda in my Dagobah playset, just for display. Like that's fine to me. Now they are gummy. I don't think the quality is good. I think Hasbro cheaps out and does cheap plastic reprints, 3D prints of the original figures that they have or they get. But no, I don't mind them at all.
Do you think that's because it's do you think that's because it's like supposed to be like a budget line, so to speak, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's a retro figure for $10. You can't really complain too much for them, right? And I can give them to my kids and they can ruffle them. I can't tell you how many they have in their, just throwing toys on top of them in their toy bins. They don't take care of them or care about them. And if they get chipped up and paint knocked off of them, Doesn't bother me one bit because I know I paid $10 for it, and I'm not giving.
Yeah, but it was no different from you as a kid with your Star Wars figures, was it? All your Action Force figures, do you know, all G.I. Joe figures. Do you know what I mean? So,
yep, 100%.
I think what now I know toys are meant to be played with, you know, from a kid's perspective, but you know, and a lot of people have said this, that people like Hasbro know what they're doing with us collectors. They're hitting the nostalgia feels, so they're giving us things that we had as a kid, so that we would buy them. We're not going to play with them. Well, some people do because they do play motion videos, but
yeah.
Majority of us are just going to keep them on the card and have them collected and just display them.
Yep.
So.
No, they know exactly what they're doing. I just don't know. They know exactly what they're doing, but I don't know what they're doing.
Right. Okay. Sense. Yeah.
The Indiana Jones line. Did I buy them? Yes. Are they good products? Are they good figures? No, not at all. The German mechanic, I can barely even get to stand. I have to put them in the weirdest pose to get them to even stand up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Would that line have been successful if they would have given any care at all to that line and continued it? Yeah, I think it would have moved and people would have paid for it. But I think they pushed it out and they got that nostalgia feel so quick. And it was probably also because the new movie was coming out. That's why they pushed them out. But
again, do you think that Hasbro are doing it for them to be played with, or do you think they're aiming it solely at the collectors? When Hasbro are thinking, well, these guys aren't going to play with them. Majority of them are going to keep them on the card.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
So they probably thinking, well, if it's you know, not a very good figure, it doesn't stand, it can't hold its weapon.
Right.
Who cares? No one's going to know. They're going to keep them on the card.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's probably it. But I think there's a large community that likes to, the old saying, one to stock, one to rock. I think a lot of people like one carded and one to put out to show off. Because like I said, space is an issue with a lot of collectors, and those cards those boxes take up a lot of space. Whereas a loose figure, you know, a 3 and 4, you know, they only take up this much room. I can put a whole lot of those out, and you know, the card back a lot different. So I think there's a large population of the community that does purchase 2 of each. So I do think they're missing out on that.
Yeah, a good point. Yeah, because I mean, I know, like, well, myself anyway, when it comes to Star Wars, I collect, you know, 2 of each, one to open and one to display.
Yeah, and especially your 6-inch 40th anniversary.
Bosk, not Bosk, Obi-Wan Kenobi. They both collect 2, don't they? Or even more. So, but yeah. Do you have a sentimental piece in your collection, or a most prized piece in your collection? When I say most prized piece, I don't mean the most expensive piece. So is there something that if you need to get out, you think I'm going to take that with me, or have you got like a piece that's like really sentimental for you?
So yes and no. Have I gotten that piece yet? I don't think so, because I think that piece is going to be with G.I. Joe, not Star Wars. Do I love my Star Wars? Yes. Would I want to go and scoop as many as I could if the house was on fire into a box and run out the door? Of course. The only one I can say that I have so far is, and it sounds funny, it's a Darth Vader coin bank.
Oh, wow.
One of the first Star Wars figures or display pieces that I bought. It's the one I can remember having that at a very early age and playing with that just as if it was an action figure. Like that was, because I was already older once I started getting into G.I. Joe and stuff. So I didn't have a Darth Vader. So I remember if I played with Star Wars and I played with a Vader, it was at Coin Bank was my Darth Vader that I played with. So I do have a lot of sentimental, I guess, feelings towards that. And it's really not even a figure, but I did purchase. That was one of the very first Star Wars pieces when I got back into collecting that I picked up, just because I had such a fond memory of that.
Oh, wow. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So you saying that you've not got something that you would say is prized at the moment. So I'm guessing then we could put that down as a grail piece. Is there a grail piece that you want? And again, it doesn't have to be expensive, just something you either had as a kid, but you've not had round to getting it yet, or you've seen it and thought I'm going to get that, but I'll leave it for a bit and then come back and get it, and you go back and get it and it's gone. That type of thing.
Yeah. So I actually have a couple, which I know you probably should only have one. So I've been into Star Wars for so long. The one piece I haven't picked up yet that would be a Grail piece to me would be the shuttle. Return of the Jedi. That would be an ultimate piece, especially boxed. It doesn't have to be complete box, just to have the box with the complete vehicle. That would probably be my Grail piece for Star Wars. Now, my Grail piece would probably be more move into G.I. Joe, and that would probably be either the Snowcat, because that was the first G.I. Joe vehicle that I can remember having, and I know it's silly too, right? I can go pick one up, probably $100, probably fully complete, stickers on it. It looked nice. I just haven't moved into that yet. So it'd be the Snowcat or the Swamp Skier with Zartan. If that was my Grail piece, I'd want that boxed and complete though. That's what I would want for that.
I mean, that was a decent vehicle, that Snowcat, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. I remember, man.
Such a cool vehicle.
That was so cool. It came with all the yellow missiles in the pieces.
That's it.
Yeah, but the Killer Whale was also, as a kid, I always wanted that Killer Whale. I can remember seeing the commercials for it when they would air them during the G.I. Joe cartoon, and just wanting Cutter and that ramp that drops down in the what the depth charges that would come out the side. That would be a Grail piece as far as G.I. Joe goes for me. And I never saw a kid who had that. I've never seen one in person. I've never touched one. I even saw the flag. We had a friend, he was about 4 years older than we were. So like I said, we lived in a small town. So you could be 7 still playing with 10, 11-year-olds just because there was nobody else to play with. You had to play with whoever was available. And I remember going to his house, and he was older. He was about 3 or 4 years older than us, and he had the flag. But he had already moved on. He wasn't into toys anymore. He was into sports and girls and hanging out with friends. And, he had these, little annoying 7, 8-year-olds at his house hanging out with them. And all we wanted to do is just play with this flag. It was so big. I can just remember the size of it. It was huge. But that's the only time I ever saw one. It was one time, and it was a one and done, and that was it.
But that Killer Whale, I mean, I can remember it was my friend's birthday, because his birthday was at the beginning of the month. The mine was towards the end of the month, and we went out on a weekend, and he had some birthday money, and we went to Toys R Us, and he just went straight to the whale, picked it up, and I was like, wow, that is so cool. Yeah. But at the time it was G.I. Joe, so it was all G.I. Joe stickers and stuff like that. The one I got when I bought it, I bought it off of eBay for about £40, and it was just literally a shell. And I took it all to pieces and stuck it it just cleaned it up, and it had some of the stickers on there. And for you purists, I'm really sorry, but the stickers, a lot of them come off and they were no good. So I just thought, well, do you know what? Action Force did a whale, so I done it up, and I got all the Action Force decals. So it's just an Action Force whale. That was the UK's version of like G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And I just loved doing that up. I like to say I spent months getting the pieces off of eBay, just month by month, and you had 2 different colors. You had like an olive green, and you had like a darker green or what have you. And I think I had the olive green. So I was like buying stuff off of eBay, and I was thinking, oh damn, that's not the right color. So I'd put that aside and then get the gun again and make sure that it was the right color. And everything is down to a T for the whole thing's the exact same color and stuff like that. And like I say, I just had so much fun doing that, and absolutely awesome. Loved it. What a great vehicle that is. Absolutely.
Isn't that fun though, doing that? It's so much fun. It's so much
it is. Yeah. And I appreciate it a lot more for doing that.
I'm doing that with a Falcon right now. I went on eBay, bought a shell of a Falcon.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I never had one. They're cool. I want to own one. So I just bought the shell, and I've just been buying, I want to say bits and bobs. So I've been watching y'all so long, but pieces here and there, and just putting it back together. And, it didn't come with the original stickers. I don't mind that. went online, found some stickers. I got the stickers. So all I have is a couple more pieces to get that fully complete.
Awesome.
But yeah,
Have you got the ball? Have you got the ball and the?
So I need the struts, the two blue struts for the door,
okay.
and I need the arm and the ball.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I need to complete it.
Awesome. So not much then. That's pretty cool going.
Yeah, cool going. And the motor works. So still makes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah. This is gonna be a tough question. If I'm probably gonna know what the answer is gonna be. If going forward, your wife said to you, right, Rob, with all the toy lines out there, you can only now collect one toy line. What would it be and why? And like I say, I think I know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah, it'd be G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could be done with Star Wars and be satisfied right now. Although there would be a hunger and a craving to get some of these last few pieces that I would like to have. I'm huge into Motu Origins, and we haven't even talked about that. Yeah, huge. I have every figure, every vehicle, every playset that's come out so far, which I think there's only one, Castle Grayskull, but still. And I usually get 2 or 3 of each figure because I give one to my son. So he loves Motu figures too, especially the Origins. So I could probably stop on that too, because I'm pretty satisfied. I mean, they've pretty much hit all the classic figures right now.
Yeah.
In Origins, there's still a few stragglers that I'm waiting for them to come out with. But yeah, G.I. Joe, I haven't even touched that hunger yet, and it's pretty big. It's calling me a lot.
Would that be a case of if you did, well, not if you did, when you jump back into G.I. Joe, is it a case of moving stuff on and just bringing in G.I. Joe, or would you keep what you've got?
No, I keep what I got. Yeah. No, yeah. It's just a matter of they keep coming out with more Origins. I keep having some more Star Wars that I want. And it's just, and Stan Solo keeps just putting out phenomenal figures. So I keep wanting everything that he, has for pre-order and puts out. So it's kind of like, I haven't started it yet. And I know when I do, it's going to take off. So I keep kind of putting it off, which is coming back to bite me because I'm sure maybe G.I. Joe is starting to go the way of vintage Star Wars. Whereas I can remember getting those $15, $20 complete figures now, and I've been looking on eBay, and they're not that price anymore.
No, I know.
They're really jumping up.
No, I've noticed that at certain toy fairs that I've gone to. I'm going to be going to a couple of places in August as well, so we'll have a look and see what they're like for prices. But yeah, you're right. I think people now know what they've got.
Yeah.
And they're going to try and make money on it.
Yeah, and I think the classified also. I think that probably pulled a lot of vintage back to people because I think you saw that classified and you went and got that Destro or that Dusty at classified, and you're like, man, I remember having that as a kid, and the demand for that's probably gone up. People probably want to get them vintage figures again.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you ever consider starting your own YouTube channel?
No. It's just I respect. Yeah, I wish I had the time. I think it would be fun. Yeah. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I see what you do, and Tim and Obi-Wan and Shabby and Usual Mike. Those are a lot of the guys I follow. I know it's a lot of work. I know y'all put in the time to do what you do. I'm happy with my Instagram. I sat on the sideline for a long time watching YouTube videos and not wanting to be a part of the community and not being a part of the community until I finally was like, because this hobby of ours, it's not the most popular thing. We in our little world it is, but I don't know anybody else in my world or outside of YouTube that collects. None of my immediate friends and none of my coworkers do, and if they do, they keep it to themselves just like I do. So it was not a relief, but it was a joy to find this community and to be part of it and be able to talk about it and share collection and share memories. And Shabby was one of the guys who I reached out to him and it's like, hey, I'm thinking about starting an Instagram. And my Instagram's not huge or big or anything like that by any means, but it's nice to go on there or to post your collection and get feedback and see people like yourself and usual Mike something as simple as just hitting the like button can mean a lot when you post a figure and somebody that you've watched for 5-6 years on YouTube just like your picture. It took them no time, but it means everything to the guy who posted the picture.
Yeah.
So long story short, no, just because I don't have the time. I think it would be awesome. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I wish I had that drive and that time to do that.
I mean, you've hit the nail on the head with regards to the community. I mean, like Shabby himself, he's so welcoming. I mean, everybody has been great, but Shabby, Scuba Pete, Nick, Tim, these guys are just, and usual Mike.
Yeah,
they're just great guys to know. And like you say, it's nice to be able to share your hobby and passion, because I was like you. I was very, like, I say, not embarrassed, but I wouldn't tell anybody that I was a collector. Right. I never said anything to anybody at work. They don't know I've got a channel. I was tempted to start chatting about it to a guy the other day because he was saying that he's just started to collect Hot Toys figures, and he was like, "Oh, these are amazing." So a couple of them know that I've got a collection, but that's as far as it goes. We don't chat about it. But he was talking to one guy and he said, "Well, go and talk to Stu. He collects and stuff like that." So he spent 2 hours yesterday just chatting to me about this Hot Toy figure that he's going to get, and then he ended up buying another one that same day. So within 2 days, he's bought himself, I think it's 700 quid on 2 Hot Toy figures. Absolutely crazy. I mean, he's 19 years old. He's living with his mum, his parents and stuff like that. So he's got money to burn. So I was like, mate, I said, once you're on that slippery road, I said, it's a, but no, fair play to him. So, but yeah, like you, I mean, I was very inward with my collecting. It was a personal thing, but now, like you say, you meet the community and stuff like that, and it's well, listen, if you ever did do a channel, I'd subscribe. So you're right there, and I think a lot of people would as well. So yeah, awesome stuff. Last 2 questions. We come to the top of the hour, but it's all good. I mean, you're having a lovely time having a conversation here. What gives you that toy collecting buzz?
Oh man, walking into the store, seeing that figure on the pegs is a buzz and a feeling that resonates all the way to a childhood that I can remember. Walking in and seeing Beachhead on the pegs, because you'd see those cards on the back, or those figures on the back of the card back, and going, "Oh, I'm going to Walmart." I can still remember the day I walked into Walmart and got Muskrat. And,
oh wow!
And found him and took him home because he was one of the ones on the back that I saw and looked cool and wanted, and it's losing that luster, unfortunately, because you can't just walk in the store and find the figures anymore. And
no, that's it.
But when I do, it still gives me that buzz, and it still gives me that childhood buzz. But also having a young son who's 6 or 7 and being able to show him. The other day, I found Snout Spout at Walmart for $5 on clearance. So, and just to bring that home and just see his excitement to play with those and rip those open, and of course not care about the packaging, doesn't care about the card back, just rips it open and just enjoys the figure for the figure, and that really gives me that buzz. I really I don't know how much I would collect and how serious I would be if I didn't have that connection with him and how much he enjoys the figures.
So he's really loving it then, I'm guessing, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, He-Man, Transformers. He's real big into Ninja Turtles right now.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about those retro figures, like those Ninja Turtles classics that TM Playmates is coming out with. We can go to Walmart and get a $10 figure for him, and it's just like being back 1989 for me, and he's loving it.
Awesome. Last question. What does your collection mean to you?
That's a tough question. It means a lot to me. It's part of who I was. I believe it's part of what molded me into the person I am today, especially GI Joe. It had such a strong influence on me with military life. I didn't serve in the military. I now serve in law enforcement, but just that Law and Order, Shockwave, all those. It just, there was something almost discipline about GI Joe. It was military. It was, hey, do the right thing. It was good against evil. It was bad guys against good guys. Heroes against villains. So yeah, I would say my collection, it means a lot to me because I can go back and I remember that childhood and what that was like, and playing with my brother and playing with my friends, and getting those figures, going to the stores. So the nostalgia, it has a strong pull for sure for me.
Awesome. And I mean, and hopefully you can pass that nostalgia onto your son as well. So when he looks back in, like, let's say like 15, 20 years time, he can then feel the same way as you do about toys and stuff like that. And hopefully that he will carry on the collecting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is absolutely awesome. Rob, it's been absolutely fantastic chatting to you. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you again for taking part. Unfortunately, that has come to the end of the conversation. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Rob's Retro. Just hit me up and follow me.
I will leave the link to your Instagram page in the description below. So no worries about that. Yeah, that's it. Like I say, love chatting to you, Rob. It's been absolutely awesome. These hours, they just fly by. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, my friend. And you're welcome on the channel anytime if you wish to come on and do like a live stream with maybe some of the other guys. If you're up for that, then I'll gladly have you on board. So not a problem at all.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Like I say, that is it for the conversation. As far as my collecting life is concerned, there will be a 2-week break. Pre-recording will commence again on the 26th of August, and that episode will be on YouTube on September the 1st. So I'm going to have a lovely couple of weeks off and not worry about YouTube, and then I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. So and for the time being, that is it for my collecting life. Just want to say thank you to Rob once again. Really appreciate you taking the time out, and thank you all for watching. Appreciate your support as always. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. See you soon. Bye for now.